What about anti-Semitism? How do you respond to the fact that many Jewish people will say, if we speak up against Israel, we're in some way assisting and encouraging anti-Semitism, and they're conflating standing with Israel as standing with Judaism. Do you get questioned about that? Do you have a view on that?
So first of all, no form of racism is ever justified, including anti-Semitism. But then I would have to say, and this upsets many people, that a lot of the anti-Semitism that we're seeing right now has to do with Israeli policies. So again, anti-Semitism cannot be justified, but if we just sort of, in a calm, calculated way, trying to look at what's going on here, I can say that a lot of it has to do with the response to Israeli policies, a response which I reject once again. But then I ask myself, is that the right way to fight anti-Semitism, by supporting Israel even more, supporting criminal policies by Israel? I mean, it's not that Israel is a good player, and it's about paying a price, anti-Semitism, for supporting the good guys. No. Supporting a genocidal regime, and on top of that, encouraging anti-Semitism. And beyond that, there's this it's very important for us to convey the idea that Judaism and Israel are not the same thing. And I really don't understand why Jews in Australia or in the US, some of them, the right-wingers, say that they feel safer in Australia, wherever they are, because of Israel. This doesn't make sense to me. This sounds crazy. And it's also an indictment of their own local communities and societies of Australia, which I absolutely do not share. I don't view Australia or the United States as places, as countries that are dangerous for Jews. Yeah. Not at all. By the way, I can also add that most of my family on my mother's side, they perished in the Holocaust. That means almost all of them.
Yes.
So I definitely grew up under the shadow of the Holocaust, and this whole tribal thing, it's like the absolutely wrong conclusion. Never again for Jews.
That's right.
Kind of never again for anyone. This is infuriating. I feel that it's also a personal fight here, because they are sort of desecrating the legacy of the Holocaust.
Do you ever get sort of triggered when people say they hate Jewish people, or Palestinian people might say, I hate Jews, or I hate Israelis, and we hear that sometimes, and that's sort of like a rebuttal. I hate you, kill you. Yeah.
So not much. I don't encounter just kill the Jews, hardly. But conspiracy theories about Jews. Like Jewish power, Jews control the world financially. Also, this subtle issue of Jews controlling America, which I think it's too superficial. I mean, it's not, Israel doesn't control America, Jews don't control America. There is a powerful lobby called AIPAC for Israel in America. But basically, Israel also serves U.S. interests. And I do see some conspiracy theories, and I try to correct that. Yeah, and we have a lot of educational work to do. I think that the fight against, right now at least, the fight against anti-Semitism and the fight against Islamophobia, both of these are intertwined. We need to work together on these issues right now. Yeah.
Completely agree. And for me, I love Norman Finkelstein and the way that he discusses how it doesn't trigger him at all. And that most of the time, if those people have never met a good Jewish person and someone that is standing by their side and saying, I stand with you, and let's fight this cause together. If you've never met anyone like that, then how can you like this group of people? So I see it from that perspective rather than taking it personally and thinking, in that case, I must not side with you because you don't like me.
Yeah, like if Palestinian children, especially in Gaza, if they refer to us, basically all Israelis, either as settlers or, first of all, I am a settler in a way. We're all structural colonizers, even if I'm within the Green Line border. So I certainly accept.
Ofer, what was your history? That's what we didn't get to touch on. Where did your family arise from?
So on my mother's side, most of them perished in the Holocaust. That was interbellum Poland. Nowadays it's Belarus, and it's basically, but not very far from Vilnius.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time it was Poland. Poland was much bigger a bit before 1939. And most of them were murdered by the Nazis. On my father's side, from my grandmother was from Odessa, and my grandfather from Chisinau, Moldova.
Yes. So we're from the same part of the world. Yes.
so they came to Palestine, I think, in the 1920s. Yes. So they were spared. But on my mother's side, not really. And then on my mother's side, they were in a camp run by the U.S. Army for displaced people in Germany. And then they had the option of going either to the U.S. or to Israel. And they chose Israel. Not the wise choice.
Not the wise choice.
Yeah. So
you meant to be so that you could be there helping the fight. Is how I see it. Sometimes it's destiny that says we need people like you over there. Because I think I would be in a similar position if I was living there. I think I would be very actively involved in trying to break down these barriers and probably getting disheartened a lot sooner than you have. I think that's what makes you quite incredible, the strength that you have shown over the last few decades.
I'm quite privileged, and many of us here, as Ashkenazi Israeli Jews, we are quite safe here. And for some people, there is a lot of personal backlash. So it really depends. For me, not so much. I mean, the ones who have really, there are people here who have faced much more backlash than I have. Especially if you're an artist and you have to perform, and then just people start boycotting you. Calling on your employers like a theater to fire you. So some people have been through hell. Yes. Me, not so much.
Yeah, well, that's pretty lucky, and I do understand. Of course, they would have trauma related to that, and it's everyone has an individual story. You can't just come at it and do a big judgment on a group of people without hearing each individual story. So. What do you think is the most current burning issues that are happening right now in Israel in terms of, things are changing daily and weekly. Every time I log on, hourly, there's something new going on. Do you think the ICC and the fact that Netanyahu might get charged, or that the ICC will put through those arrests on him, is that the most burning issue going on at the moment, or is it the misinformation that is going on at the moment with respect to, how how many dead Gazans there are. You know, we were saying 30,000 children, and now all of a sudden they've said, oh, look at this, the numbers aren't accurate, it's 10,000. What do you think is some of the biggest things that you're fighting or, you know, doing at the moment? What's taking up a lot of your time?
So yeah, I mean, previously it was misinformation on Gaza, trying to basically doing genocide denial, minimize, deny the casualty figures coming out of Gaza, the Israeli media being completely reluctant to show footage of devastation in Gaza. But I think right now the hot button issue is really both ICJ and ICC. ICJ, International Criminal Court, Karim Khan asking for an arrest warrant against Netanyahu and Gallant, and the rumors we're hearing today about the ICJ, International Court of Justice, issuing an order ordering Israel to stop the war, possibly doing so tomorrow. So I think these are the major issues right now, and with right-wing figures in the government trying to organize major retaliation right now against Palestinians for these measures, especially against the Palestinian Authority, basically to bring about the collapse of the Palestinian Authority, which is already very weak, by not transferring funds which Israel owes the Palestinian Authority and taking other measures. So we're seeing another new spiral here of measures against the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. And I think that for these measures, Israel actually has even less international support than it had for military measures against Hamas, against Gaza, basically, under the guise of fighting Hamas. Then if Israel wants to basically destroy the Palestinian Authority right now politically, I don't think it even has very strong political support for that.
Okay, thank you for that. I was going to say, is there anything else that you wanted to add? I think we've been going for almost an hour, and thank you so much for your time. I've appreciated it so much.
Sure.
I think it will really assist, some of the communities in Australia. Some people are so on board and can completely understand where you're coming from, and but then there's the other side, where the other narrative that they're all just buying into. They're all just watching, news here that do not even show or speak or demonstrate half the things that are going on. You wouldn't know unless you jumped on social media, and it's only the younger generation that are doing that. And the older generation, they don't know Instagram, they don't know, TikTok, and they don't get to see any of these horrific human violations. So they are just buying into the narrative that this is we need to go to war, and this is just a sad thing that Hamas caused, and no one is looking at the fact that what was going on before October 7th.
So I would add that first of all, I mean, I support human rights and international law, and I really hope that we're going to see major legal developments to help bring about an end to the atrocities that we're seeing here. I do acknowledge that Hamas committed war crimes on October 7th. I will not condemn the International Criminal Court, for issuing arrest warrants against Hamas people. Yes. However, I would add that there's another layer here, the political, historical perspective. And here we have to address issues such as colonialism, settler colonialism, also go back to the Nakba, the dispossession of the Palestinians. And this is not something that can be solved by a court. So the key word here is decolonization, and here we really have to address crimes by the Zionist movement for the past 140 years or so. I support the BDS campaign. This means boycott, divestment, sanctions, applying international law. But I think we all need to talk. We need to have a conversation on colonialism here. And perhaps I think that people in Australia are, on average, probably a bit more open-minded towards discussing colonialism in Australia in comparison to colonialism Israelis regarding colonialism here. I would just invite people in Australia, especially Australian Jews, to understand the similarities here, that what we're seeing here for the past 140 years is colonialism. Even when the Zionist movement was a very weak movement here long before the establishment of the State of Israel, the patterns here, taking over land, even if it was bought legally from rich local landowners, but driving out the local Palestinian peasants, the Falahim, indigenous people. That was a colonial process, and I expect people to come to terms with history here, perhaps drawing on Australian history.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
Sure, and we can always have another chat.
Yes, I was going to say that, maybe we can catch up and have a look at what else is going on the political landscape, or with this war. Hopefully it will stop and there's a ceasefire. I've been praying for it since,